Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 10th Annual Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame Induction Banquet. We're indeed pleased to have such a big crowd with us tonight as we honor and recognize the class of 2005. It's my pleasure at this point in time to make you aware that we have the Smith Station High School Band with us this evening, as well as the Ranger Training Brigade, and we'll introduce other military personnel later in the evening. I would ask you at this point in time to please rise for the posting of the colors by the Ranger Training Brigade Color Guard. Remain standing for the playing of our national anthem by the Smith Station High School Band, and please remain standing for the retiring of the colors. Thank you. Please be seated. On behalf of the committee and board of directors of the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame, it's our pleasure to present to you the introductions individually of the class of 2005. Each inductee will be escorted by a cheerleader, and be prepared for their school fight song to be played at the same time. So if you War Eagles happen to be sitting next to somebody that's a Crimson Tider type person, you'll have to fend for yourself. But at this time, it's a great pleasure to introduce our first inductee. From East Hall High School, Gainesville, Georgia, and from Shaw High School, the University of Georgia, and Auburn University, class of 2005 inductee, Debbie Ball. From Central High School in Phoenix City and the University of Alabama, class of 2005 inductee, Jeremiah Castille. From Jordan High School and Columbus State University, class of 2005 inductee, Bobby Howard. From Wayzata High School in Wayzata, Minnesota, and the University of Iowa, class of 2005 inductee, Ken Leuer. From South Girard High School in Phoenix City, Alabama State University, and Fisk University, class of 2005 inductee, James Redd. If you will kindly refer to the program on the table before you, you'll note that we will begin with the invocation, followed by the serving of dinner. We'll pause for some 30 minutes or so to enjoy dinner, and then we'll introduce various notables and past year inductees in the audience, and then the highlight of the evening will be the introduction of the class of 2005 inductees in a formal manner. At this time, it's my great pleasure to introduce to you the pastor of First Baptist Church, Columbus, Georgia, Dr. Jimmy Elder, for our invocation. Dr. Elder.
Would you join me as we pray together? Our Lord, we come into this room to celebrate excellence, to celebrate accomplishment, to celebrate the lives of people who are great to us because of what they accomplish and what they are and for what they stand. We thank you for the power of recognition, for the power of blessing, and for the power of influence. And we pray that as we bestow upon these in this place our gratitude for who they are and our recognition in what they stand for, that they will receive that as a mantle to wear as they continue to model integrity and determination in the days ahead. There are many young lives that will be impacted by these here, even as they already have. And so we pray your blessings upon each of them, upon us as we gather in this place, upon the food that we enjoy, and upon the meaning of the evening. May we receive that with gratitude as well. For it is in the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Enjoy dinner, everyone. We will take about 30 minutes to do so, and I will give you about a 5-minute advance notice that the program is about to restart during that 30-minute period. So enjoy dinner, everyone. We are glad to have all of you with us tonight. It's a great crowd. We appreciate your support of the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame, and in particular the class of 2005. Before we induct the class of 2005, there are some people in the audience that I think we ought to recognize. First, I'd like to recognize the military personnel. We have a number of uniformed military personnel scattered at various tables tonight. Military personnel who are the defenders of our freedom. Military personnel who have stepped forward to represent us in other countries and to defend and protect the rights that we have. At this time, if you are one of those military personnel, I would like to ask you to please stand. Military, please stand wherever you are. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the military, for what you do for us. We'd like to express our appreciation to the media, in particular to Kevin Price and sports editor of the Ledger-Inquirer newspaper, and the various staff writers, Krista Turner, Damon Lawrence, David Ching, Robert Spruik, Troy Johnson, for this week's editions of the profiles of our inductees. I hope you had the opportunity to read the illustrious careers of each of our class of 2005 inductees. We appreciate that support from the Ledger-Inquirer. I also like to express our appreciation to Jack Rogers and in particular WRBL TV3 for their continuing support, WTVM Dave Plata, WTCG TV for their working with us this year and giving us the opportunity for a little exposure, Russ Hollenbach and his crowd. Also from radio, we appreciate the support of our own DJ Jones and the DJ and Friends show that we hear every day on radio from 5 to 7 o'clock. DJ, I know you're here and I'll introduce you shortly, but I appreciate that support that you gave us this year. Let's give these ladies and gentlemen a round of applause, if you would, please. Some 11 years ago, a group of local sports enthusiasts gathered to consider how they might recognize and honor those who had contributed to sports from the Chattahoochee Valley. After a series of meetings, the organization that we know today as the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame came into existence. Today's organization consists of 23 committee members, of which 6 serve as an executive board. The committee meets 8 or 9 months out of the year, with the months of July, August, and September given to the election of the inductees, the months of October and November to preparing and executing the annual Charlie Morrow Memorial Golf Tournament, and the months of December, January, and February to the preparation and completion of this annual banquet. If you're a member, a committee member, that is, of the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame, won't you please stand and be recognized? And from me to you, committee, thanks for a job well done this year. It's very meaningful to us when we have the return of past year inductees, and in particular this year we have a large group of past year inductees that are in attendance with us. As I call your name, would you kindly stand and remain standing until I've called all names, and then, audience, if you will respond to them, I would appreciate it. First of all, from the class of 1996, Hall of Famer Nate Odoms. From the class of 1997, Hall of Famer Cecil Darby. From the class of 1997, representing his father, Hall of Famer B.F. Register, his son, Lieutenant General retired Ben Register. From the class of 1998, Hall of Famer Bubba Ball. From the class of 1998, Hall of Famer Speck Richardson. From the class of 1999, Hall of Famer Billy Key. From the class of 2000, Hall of Famer Frank Sonny Clements. From the class of 2000, Hall of Famer Jack Key, Jr. From the class of 2002, Hall of Famer George McCluskey, Jr. From the class of 2003, Hall of Famer Marilyn Comiskey. From the class of 2003, Hall of Famer Bill Plager. From the class of 2003, Hall of Famer Herbert Green. From the class of 2003, Hall of Famer Wayne Trawick. From the class of 2004, Hall of Famer Wallace Davis. From the class of 2004, Hall of Famer Darrell D.J. Jones. From the class of 2004, Hall of Famer Jimmy Lee. Please join me, everyone, in giving these past year inductees a round of applause. Now it's time to recognize and honor the class of 2005. Our first inductee was nominated by Senator Paul Coverdale to the National Advisory Council for Youth Drug Abuse and selected to serve a 3-year term by President Bill Clinton. She won her 500th fast-pitch softball game on September the 11th, 2003, and selected as an executive member of the Georgia Athletic Coaches Association, becoming the second female president in 2006. She earned her doctorate of education from Auburn University in 1995, top 10 Muskogee County School District Teacher of the Year in 2000, won the Shaw Basketball Christmas Tournament in 1980-81 in her 3rd year of coaching girls basketball, and was selected as the Coach of the Year in all sports in that very same year. If you will direct your attention to the screen.
Debbie Ball is the pride of Gainesville, Georgia. She graduated from East Hall High School in 1968. After attending Gainesville Junior College, she went on to the University of Georgia, getting her bachelor's degree in health and physical education in 1973. After 5 years of teaching and coaching in the Hall County school system, Debbie headed south to Columbus, where she and her husband, Bubba Ball, found a permanent home at Shaw High School. Her career there started in 1978, the year Shaw opened. Debbie coached the Lady Raiders basketball team for 9 years, posting a record of 122 wins and 72 losses. She simultaneously coached the girls softball team, a position she's held since 1979. Debbie's early efforts at Shaw were awarded with the Coach of the Year honors in all sports in 1980-81. Perhaps one of Debbie's most remarkable seasons was in 2000. Her team made it all the way to the state championship finals. That earned her State Coach of the Year honors. One particular milestone for Coach Ball came on September 11, 2003, when her Lady Raiders beat Northside for her 500th career victory. In 2003-2004, she was a finalist for the National Fast Pitch Coach of the Year. Debbie has also been responsible for sending talented athletes onto the college ranks. One of her stellar players, Ashley Godfrey, went on to play for the University of Georgia. Although softball may have dominated Coach Ball's coaching career, it was by no means the only sport keeping her busy. Besides girls basketball mentioned earlier, she has also coached tennis, track, and swimming. Debbie has also instructed the cheerleaders for a dozen years on top of her duties as health and physical education teacher. Debbie received her master's degree from Georgia Southwestern in 1985 and earned her doctorate from Auburn University in 1995. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame is proud to induct Debbie Ball.
Ladies and gentlemen, class of 2005 Hall of Famer Debbie Ball. Congratulations. Look down at the camera down there.
First of all, I would like to say thank you to the Chattahoochee Valley Hall of Fame Committee for selecting me for induction to the Hall of Fame. This is quite an honor from a girl who in 1978 moved to Columbus, Georgia. It was not my home, but I've lived here as long as I lived in Gainesville, Georgia. So thank you, Hall of Fame Committee. Most of my athletes see me as very serious, organized, and hardworking. They also know that when they come on the field to play, that everything is all business. But I wanted to share one story with you when, on that day, I wasn't quite as organized. I ran the Muscogee County School District Tennis Invitational for several years. And we played the tournament at different sites all over Columbus and Phoenix City. And we met at Leuer Park one morning about 8 o'clock. 200 tennis players, parents, and coaches. And I spent about 20 minutes telling the players where they were going to disperse to. And when I finished, I went over to sit down with one of the other high school local coaches. One of my tennis players, Charlie Fairburn, came over and said, Miss Ball, I would just like to know, are you having problems with your eyes today? And I said, no, Charlie, why? He said, well, we were all wondering why you're walking around with glasses with one lens in and the other lens out. He later on presented me with an award at a banquet called the One-Eyed Award. That was quite a fiasco that day, and at that banquet when he made this presentation, I always think I'm pretty much in charge and in control, and he let me know that night I wasn't too much in control. Tonight's a very special night. It gives you an opportunity to go back and remember when. And over the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've really been thinking about where I came from and how I got to where I am tonight. It has been an opportunity that God has given me to coach and teach many young girls and boys as well. Like the video said, I've coached many things at Shaw High School. And I have had the opportunity to make a difference in young people's lives. And they've also had an opportunity to make a huge difference in my life. I would like to go back to when I was growing up. I had parents who were very hard workers. They had 8 children. I was the second of 8. became very easy for me to tell other people what to do because I got to be the boss at the house when the parents weren't there. My parents worked hard. We lived on a farm, and when you live on a farm, you know, you work hard. You have the opportunity to learn many things. My parents taught me a great work ethic that has carried me through my coaching career to this day. They taught me right from wrong, and they taught me to take a firm stand for what I believed in. They also taught me how to act. And, you know, today when you coach athletes, sometimes you as a coach have to show them how to act. My dad expected a whole lot out of me. He expected excellence with everything I did. If I made a B in school, he wanted to know why. If I didn't succeed at whatever it was that I attempted to do, he always encouraged me to do the best that I could. Luckily, when I was about 8 or 9 years old, I was in the 3rd grade, and I had a wonderful 3rd grade teacher who every day after lunch she read us poems. And she read a poem to us one day, and the title of it was, "Be the Best of Whatever You Are." And that poem has stuck with me all my life. She was such a great influence. I received 3 spankings when I was in school, and she gave me 2 of those. One was for saying how much I hated school. But I will never forget her and the influence she had on me, and really believing that I could be and do whatever I wanted to be. I also had a high school social studies teacher who was a cheerleading coach. One of my first failures in school was not making the cheerleading squad. Well, I decided and rationalized later that I was just too good of an athlete at that time to make cheerleading, so now cheerleading's a totally different sport, and it takes an athlete to participate in it. But she was a very strong, disciplined woman, very assertive, and I can remember wanting to be like her. And I think my athletes today would tell you that I am very much like her, very disciplined, very assertive. There are several people that have made a huge difference in my life. And when I moved to Columbus, Georgia, there was a family that took me in as part of their family. Bubba and I got married in the summer of 1978, and this family was also already part of his family. But Jeff and Nancy Weekly, when we married, they just took us in and made such a huge difference in my life. When we would play basketball, Jeff and Nancy would be there at the basketball games. When we first opened Shaw, we didn't have a whole lot of equipment, and I would go on Sunday afternoons and cut grass with a push mower. It took about 4 hours for me to cut that field, and Jeff came by one day and saw me cutting the field with a push mower, and the next week he had a riding lawnmower for me. And I'm sure he used to tease me a lot about you can't take the country out of the girl. And he said that to me often. And I'm sure he's looking down tonight saying how proud he is of me and what I've accomplished. I want to take this time to let you know that all the athletes who believed in our program and were willing to work hard and made a commitment to win is the reason that I am able to stand up here tonight. It's not due to my accomplishments, it's due to the athletes that I've had and that God has sent me. I am very willing to coach whoever comes my way. You hear a lot of times about recruiting in Columbus, Georgia, and I've been real blessed over the years that when I needed a pitcher, God sent a pitcher. When I needed a shortstop, he sent a shortstop. And I have thoroughly believed that he sent those people into my life for a particular reason. It was either for me to learn something or for them to learn something. And due to that, we've been blessed by many, many victories. I've had the opportunity to have some of the best parents you could possibly have. I a lot of times go to other schools and hear coaches complaining about parents this and parents that, and I've had such willing parents. They allowed me to coach their children. Parents like Mona and Dennis Griffin, when we would make it to the state playoffs, Dennis would travel with Bubba to go scout the team so that we would know what we were going to face when we had to go play. Mona would help me in the cheerleading. When I was coaching cheerleading those 12 years and we started competitive cheerleading, I coached their daughters, and she would help make sure that I knew about dance and knew about music, because that was not my area. I remember when I first came to Columbus, Jim Bunton offered me a job at Columbus High 2 years before I came. But he wanted me to be the cheerleading coach, and I said, I don't know anything about cheerleading, and I sure can't coach cheerleading, so we'll just pass this job up. I didn't know that about 10 years later I would be coaching cheerleaders for 12 years. Parents like Dwight and Becky Langston, who have been there with me since their daughter was there probably 10 to 15 years ago. I could call on them at any time, and they were always there to help out. Julia and Dan Nolan, we run the Shaw softball tournament, and they're still there. Their daughters have graduated, and they're still there helping me run that tournament. Sam and Gail Bledsoe, just wonderful parents who allowed me to coach their children. You know, there's some parents that don't allow you to coach their children, but they did. A special thank you to Nancy Hartford, my spiritual mentor. I always knew Nancy was praying for me. When you coach in a man's world, you have a lot of stress, and you need anyone and everyone that will pray for you to be praying, because you never know what you're going to come up against. It's not always been easy. It's been hard sometimes. Thanks to my Sunday school teachers of 25 years, Jim and Freddie Harper, who I always knew that if any problem came up on my team, I could call them and tell them about it, and they would be praying for me. I know these three people have been praying for me every day that I've coached since they've known me in Columbus. A special thank you to the faculty and staff at Shaw High School. My faculty and staff at Shaw High School have always supported anything I've done. They've always let me know they knew what was going on, and they've always let me know they appreciated anything that I did to help the school. They believed in me, and they knew I was trying to do the best that I could do in teaching and in coaching, and they always let you know. We have a saying at Shaw High School that it's great to be a Shaw Raider, and it has been great to be a Shaw Raider for the last 27 years. A special thank you to Dr. Jim Arnold, my present principal, to Eddie Obleton, who is now our assistant superintendent in the school system, who was my principal, and a special thank you to the man who hired me, Gordon Stallings. There were many times over the years when I have received notes from the principals. I've received roses. I've received thank yous. They always have let me know how much they appreciated what I did. Many times I've sat in the office with Gordon Stallings while he has explained to a parent how overzealous his coach is, but that she really was trying to do the right thing. I have to say a special thank you to the local media, the newspaper, the TV staff. The first news media person that I had to speak to in Columbus when I first came here, one of the very first articles that was in the paper, the newspaper reporter wrote about my team and about me, but they made a big mistake of saying that I was the wife of Bubba Ball. That's how they introduced me. The only time I have ever written to the newspaper was to let him know that it was my team, my girls, and he was not to refer to me as the wife of Bubba Ball. I was a coach. I have to say thank you to the coaches who have taught me and guided me in various sports that I've coached at Shaw High School. You know, if you're a female, you don't know a lot of things like sometimes we try to make you think we do, especially in the coaching world. because the men have been there and they know. And because I was a willing student, I had people like Jimmy Lee coming to my basketball practice to teach defense. I had my husband, Bubba Ball, who would plan my practice schedule every day so that he felt confident that I knew what I was doing. Scott Newman, who I work with at the present time, helps cut my fields, drag the fields. He helps me do whatever needs to be done. And a special thank you to Charles Flowers, our athletic director, because he prevents me from having to do a lot of work outside on the fields that in Muscogee County you have to do. You don't have someone else coming there to do it. You have to do it yourself, and Charles takes care of, and Scott and Jamie Fox takes care of a lot of things that I don't have to. They say, you go ahead and do what you need to do. We'll take care of this. And I really, certainly appreciate them. A special thank you to all my coaching friends who were here that I have a great admiration for. I learned a lot of basketball from Jim Creek. He was at Jordan High School when I first started coaching. And we were great competitors, but I have the utmost respect for him because I did learn a lot from him. Butch Jones, Helen Kleiber, my dear friend from Columbus High, worked at Hardaway when we first came here. And what a gracious female coach. Gail Godwin, Marty Richburg, and my good friend from Jones County who's here tonight that I've coached against since we started fast pitch softball, Marty Harrington. I've learned so much from these different people. You know, the one thing I have learned is that you're only as good as the people who help you lay the bricks. And those people who helped me lay the bricks with each one of the teams were my assistant coaches. Lisa Frander, Susie Sparks, Beth Norsworthy Lester, Monica Purdue, my daughter-in-law, Shannon Cormier. You're only as good as they are. And they came under me and allowed me to teach them, and they taught me many things. Many special thanks to the different players that I have here tonight who wanted to come and be a part of this. Chris Swartout, who flew in from Colorado. Kim Collins Thomas. I don't know their married names. Beth Norsworthy. I can't call all of them. I've just seen their faces out there, and you just don't know how much it means to me that you're here tonight to share this with me. A special thank you to my children, Dusty, Austin, and Alex, who sacrificed a lot of their time while I was helping raise other people's children. I tried not to miss out on a lot, but when you're a mother trying to coach, trying to work with other people's children, trying to be a wife, and trying to go to everything your children are doing, you still miss out on a lot. And I know that they had to sacrifice their time with me while I was working with other people's children. Last but not least, thanks to who was really the master teacher in my life, and that's my husband, Bubba. He hired me as a gymnastics coach, and within 1 month of being hired, he hired Rhonda Prather and I, and within 1 month he decided Rhonda needed to do gymnastics, and he came home and talked to me and convinced me that I needed to do basketball. I had played basketball, but I'd never coached basketball. And he said, I will help you plan your practices. I will sit with you on the bench until you feel like you know what you're doing. And he sat with me on the bench for 3 years. And I had many females come up and say, I can't believe you're letting your husband sit on the bench with you. Well, if you want to win, you let him sit on the bench with you. And I did want my athletes to win. There were many nights we would come home after a basketball game and we would stay up till 12 or 1 o'clock reviewing films so that I understood what was going on in the basketball game. And, you know, I was really blessed with the fact that I had such a master teacher. When I moved here in 1978, Dr. Philip Sly was my physician, and he made the statement to me, Debbie, pay close attention to what your husband has to teach you. You are very lucky that you have someone with his ability to teach you everything you need to know about coaching. He teases a lot of times, maybe serious, I don't know, and says he taught me everything I know. He did teach me the majority of what I know. Why not learn from the best? And he has always been the best. He's been there to work on the fields for me. He's been there to teach my girls. He believed in Title IX before there was a Title IX. He has helped shape me into the kind of coach that I am today. I appreciate him, and I love him, and today is his birthday. And there is no one here more proud of my accomplishments than my husband. Thank you.
Congratulations, Debbie. Congratulations, Bubba, and the remainder of the family. We've known Bubba for many years. Bubba has been a meaningful influence in this community for many years, and we appreciate what he's done and continues to do. Our next inductee founded the Jeremiah Ministries in 2001. He was inducted into the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame. He was the recipient of the 2004 Paul Bear Bryant Alumni Award for Outstanding Personal Achievement. He was a recipient of the Hope Award in 2004 for religious community service. He was the most valuable player in the 1982 Liberty Bowl. Please direct your attention to the screen.
Jeremiah Castille got the attention of Alabama scouts playing for the Central Red Devils in Phoenix City. He was a utility player, running back, receiver, defensive back. He was named Bi-City Player of the Year his senior season in 1978, leading Central to its first ever championship playoff game. Castille's next stop was the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa, and was his timing ever perfect. His freshman season, the Crimson Tide, under the direction of Paul Bear Bryant, captured the SEC title and the national championship. Jeremiah played cornerback in college, and his speed and quickness showed up in his statistics. He is ranked second on Alabama's all-time list for interceptions with 16. He led the Tide in that category both his junior and senior seasons. He ranks third on the all-time list for passes broken up with 30. One of Castille's premier performances came in the Liberty Bowl in 1982, Bears' last game. Alabama was playing Illinois. Jeremiah picked off 3 passes in that game to snag the Most Valuable Player trophy. Castille was a 4-year letterman for the Bear. In 1982, he was named an All-American cornerback. Jeremiah was the 72nd overall pick in the 1983 NFL Draft, going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the 3rd round. During his 4 seasons with the Bucs, Castille played in 60 games, 45 as a starter. His first interception came as a rookie. He returned that one for 69 yards and a touchdown. Jeremiah would finish his pro career playing for the Denver Broncos in 1985 and 86, a career that included starting in a Super Bowl. In 2001, he launched Jeremiah Ministries, a Christian-based outreach to young men in the inner city. 2005 brings 2 inductions. Castille becomes a member of the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame. And ladies and gentlemen, tonight, the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame is proud to induct Jeremiah Castille.
Ladies and gentlemen, class of 2005 Hall of Famer Jeremiah Castille. Take a look at the camera there, Jeremiah. Want me to hold this for you? Yes.
Good evening. I want to thank the Chattahoochee Valley Hall of Fame Selection Committee for my 2005 induction. It's great to be among such great people that have gone on to do such great things in life. And, you know, I'm really honored and just privileged to be a part of the 2005 selection committee. And when you think about accomplishments, as he was sharing some things there on the screen, my mind goes back to all of the people that played a part in my life. I can remember there's a 7th grader at Central High School, Central Junior High, just playing a little street football before school, and Coach Phil Elder built a dream in me. He said, "You thought about playing junior high ball?" I said, "No, sir." He said, "Well, next year you need to." Coach Elder he played a part in my life. Helped me to just have a dream that, hey, I could do something. And it started my 8th grade year. There's so many people to thank, and I just kind of want to probably get that out of the way real quick. My mom, who's here, and my wife, family members, people that I played high school ball with, coaches that coached me. Coach Traywick, thank you for coming out. Coach, I just want to know how you're doing it, because in 26 years ago I graduated, 25. You hadn't aged at all. You look the same. Coach Bobby Wright. Remember Coach Wright, I think, just coming to Central. And you know what I learned from you, Coach Wright, was that you got out there with us, participated in the weightlifting, participated in the running. And those are some of the things that I took into coaching in the 7 years that I did it. Thank you, Coach Wright. Coach Red, I played a little basketball for there at Central High School. Thank you. Also, chemistry teacher. I don't know if I did too well in that. Coach, did you pass me because you were trying to get me to play? Well, thank you. It's God just placed people in my life that helped me. And coaches and teachers have said, hey, I see something in you. Got to the University of Alabama, and he placed a roommate in my life named Eddie Lowe. Probably one of the most dedicated people I've ever been around. Eddie was a neat guy. I never been around a person like him. Eddie, when in athletics, man, doing tour days, you kind of get tired. You have those tour days, they going on in the fall. And I never met a guy that didn't get tired. Eddie didn't get tired. I mean, his enthusiasm for every practice, he'd go to practice like it was a game. He'd be that fired up about practice. And I believe I went on to play professional ball because of the influence that Eddie Lowe had in my life. And he placed me around a person that just, never been around a person like that. Come in late at night, 11, 12 o'clock, and Eddie have the film rolling. He'd be down in his linebacker stands, going through, man, turn that thing off. Let's go to bed. Well, when I look at my life, people are not great. And what I mean by that is, when you meet great people, it's just the principles that they have applied in their life that make them great. It's the principles that we live by. So if there's any greatness this evening that you would see in me, it comes from the principles that I've learned to live by. Probably to sum up my success, there's probably 4 things that I would share with you this evening. First thing I learned is to make a decision about life. Each and every one of us have to make a decision about life. I just chose in life that I wanted to be successful. And I believe that starts with us understanding who made us. For me, it was God's Son, understanding that God made me in his image and that I was a winner. A dream. I believe God gives all of us a dream. My dream was that one day I would see my mother sober, and I was going to do that through athletics and go on to get a college scholarship, come back and change the situation there in my family. So that's what drove me when I got to the University of Alabama. I was on a mission. I was out to accomplish something with my life. There was other people's lives I felt like were hanging in the balance based on what I did with my life. Got over there, and I can remember very vividly going there, and, you know, guys, 26 guys probably in my class, and after 4 years, there's probably about 9 left. What happened to the other 16? Boy, I could just see them with their suitcases in their hand. They'd be walking down Bryant Hall about 12 o'clock at night. I said, hey, man, where you going? I'm going home. And I think, home? Can't go back there. I got to make it. You know, to me, it was great. I believe when you have a dream, you look at life differently. Instead of seeing the glass half empty, you see it half full. See, to me, it was great, and those guys thought it was tough. You know, complaining. Coach didn't like them. It was hard. For me, it was great because for the first time in my life, I could just reach over and hit a button and have central heat and air. I thought it was great, man. I'm getting 3 meals a day. Ain't it great? It's all in how you see life. Also, dedication. I just was willing to dedicate myself. What's dedication? Being willing to do what it's going to take to make your dream come true. 1980, we were returning there two days, and Coach Brown was up in the tower, and we had been given a mile to run for time that spring. And in the summer, you went home. At best, you worked on that because you had to meet. That's the first thing you did when you came back for 2 days. Coach Brown was in the tower, and they would break you down into groups, make you compete, defensive backs against wide receivers, linemen, offense and defense, and linebackers, running backs. And first group got out there was linemen, and they got out there and started running. And Coach Bryant grabbed the bullhorn, and he said to one of the coaches, he instructed him, he says, Jack, get Bohannon off the track before he gets somebody hurt. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? Well, the coach ran out there and stopped this guy named Jeff Bohannon. Coach Bryant didn't let him finish the mile. He went on to say, I want his stuff out of the dorm by 6 o'clock. If it's not out, call the police on it. That's the last I ever saw of Bohannon. I hadn't seen him since. You know, I'm sitting there thinking, I thought this was a 4-year deal. No, it wasn't a 4-year deal. My roommate name was Reggie Brown. Hadn't seen him all summer. He grew a little bit, not in height. He slipped on this little rubber deal, put it around his waist. He got out there, he ran 2 laps, and he collapsed. Boy, he just looked like he was graveyard dead. I ain't seen Reggie Brown since either, folks. I'm sitting there thinking, Phoenix City, Alabama. Can't go back there. I got to make it. I ran the fastest mile I ever ran in my life. I still remember my time, too. 5 minutes and 20-something seconds. Dedication. Coach Bryant cut Jeff Bohannon because he wasn't dedicated. It takes dedication to make a dream come true. Last but not least, don't quit. Don't quit. Don't give up on your dream. I just didn't give up. I played over, 10, 11 years before I ever played professionally. What if I'd given up in college? Got to Tampa Bay, and my goal was to start as a rookie. That's what I did. We flew up to Cleveland, Ohio, playing up there on Lake Erie. It's cold. Man, it was cold. It was snowing. You know, coming from Alabama, I didn't see much snow. And, well, we got up there, and it was, playing in Tampa Bay, and they ran a toss sweep play. And next time you're watching NFL and they take the ball and toss it back to the running back, he's dipping and dodging, looking real cute. Don't watch him. Look at them 6'6", 300-pound tractor trailers that's pulling. They on a mission. They after defensive backs, which I happen to be one of. And they don't like you either. And they'll let you know it. Today, number 23, I'm going to kill you. Well, I read the play late and didn't have enough sense to get out of the way. and Joe Leuer commenced to knocking me out. Well, when I came to, boy, I'm laying there face first in the snow. I don't see white. When I wake up, I see red. I'm bleeding everywhere. Well, you know, in that business, they just pick you up, scoop you off, take you on the sideline. You know, they're not going to slow the game down for you. Trainer popped that ammonia open. He put it up to my nose. He said, how many fingers you see? I said, well, it looked like you got 2 up. Oh, you ready to go back in the game? I said, oh, man. Didn't you have up 3 fingers? I don't know about that. What did I know? That play worked. They were going to run it again. I was going to see Joe again. Well, you know, it could have been real easy for me to say, well, you know, Coach, I got a real bad headache. That guy really, he roughed me up pretty good. But when you're a winner, you don't know how to quit. I said, give him my helmet. I'm going back. Joe hit me in my head the first time. He run that play again, I'm going to hit him in the head. That's just about how I felt about it. Folks, those I would say are the things that I've taken with me in life. And for some of you young people here, you'll take these 4 things and apply them in your life. You can go on to achieve great things. Probably one of my greatest achievements is marrying somebody that grew up right here in Phoenix City, the mother of our 6 children. She's continued to make me great, and I married up, definitely. And that's my wife, Jean. And I want to thank you for all your support and what you've done for me over the years in going on 22 years of marriage. But as I close, folks, I just want to say Phoenix City, Columbus, Georgia, we definitely have a lot of things to be proud of. We have produced some of the greatest people in this country. I'm just proud that I could be called a citizen of the Bi-City area, really a product of the Bi-City area. Columbus and Phoenix City have put out definitely some greatness. So it's truly a privilege and an honor for me to be considered one of them. God bless you. You have a good night.
Thank you for those words. Well spoken, Jeremiah, and congratulations to you and the family. Our next inductee identified the following as his most meaningful accomplishments. Marriage to his loving wife, Vicki. Being able to see both of his children born. Lindsay Ray and Will, I believe, are their names. Fortunate to have a mom and dad who raised him in a loving Christian home. His relationship with Dr. Bill Purvis, who took him to another level spiritually and professionally. Having a job or occupation where you can't differentiate between work and play, and the relationships formed therefrom. Please direct your attention to the screen.
Bobby Howard's name is synonymous with coaching, but before he ever picked up a clipboard, he was an athlete. And the Jordan High Red Jackets were glad he suited up for them. Howard was a 3-sport letterman in basketball, football, and baseball in the late 1960s. It was baseball that he decided to pursue in college. Bobby played for Coach Charles Ragsdale's Columbus College Cougars. Howard had a .331 career batting average. As a senior in 1974, he led the team with 40 RBIs, a school record at the time. He was also named to the South Atlantic Conference All-Star team. With college behind him, Bobby next turned his attention to coaching. He actually started his coaching career where he wound up spending most of it at Columbus High. He was hired as an assistant to Frank Matthews in 1975. He got his first head coaching job at his alma mater, Jordan, in 1976. From there, he went to Chattahoochee Valley Community College and then on to Kendrick in 1980. 9 years after being hired as an assistant, he returned to Columbus High to head coach in 1984. He's been there ever since, except for one season when he coached Middle Georgia. Bobby's first Blue Devils team went 28-3 and won the state championship. That was only the beginning. Over the next 21 years, Howard would direct his teams to 12 state championship finals. They would win 8 of them. His 2004 state championship squad won a school record 35 games and finished the year ranked number 2 in the country by USA Today. The newspaper also named Howard its National Coach of the Year. Bobby's teams have recorded over 650 wins, making him the second winningest high school baseball coach in Georgia. Howard's players have gone on to make their marks in the college and pro ranks. None has been more successful than the Big Hurt, Frank Thomas. Bobby's accomplishments have landed him in the Columbus State University and the Georgia Dugout Sports Halls of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame is proud to induct Bobby Howard.
Class of 2005 Hall of Famer, Bobby Howard. Congratulations. I'll take a look at the camera there. Thank you. Thank you.
When everybody stood up, I didn't know if they were leaving after if you saw us play today. So we lost a heartbreaker today. But I do want to take this opportunity to thank the committee, the former Hall of Fame members that are present here tonight. It really came up with my name for the selection process. I'm very humbled and at being selected with so many honorees in the audience tonight. I feel like I'm very fortunate. I feel like I'm very blessed. I know that the late Alex Haley had a famous, his poster that he liked the best was in his office, you know, with a turtle hanging on the fence, and said that, you know, the reason I got here, I had to have a lot of help, and I think that's kind of the way I feel tonight, that really so many people that have helped me on my journey, and the byproduct, like Jeremiah said, was so many players, so many parents, so many assistant coaches, so many outstanding administrators that have really helped me professionally. Just 2 weeks ago, I was reading a story by Deion Branch, and he was the wide receiver for the New England Patriots. 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, he took out his cell phone, and I shared this with our players. He made 13 phone calls, started all the way back till, you know, his elementary school teachers, his junior high coach, his Pop Warner coach, all the way through high school, about 5 or 6 different teachers, 2 or 3 relatives, made 13 calls, and that night he became the MVP of the New England Patriots Super Bowl. But it was a very servant's heart, and I was glad that he was rewarded. But it's, you know, a lot of times we tend to forget the people that have really helped us get in these type of situations here. I can think back to my Little League coach, Howard Lennon. I walked down on the practice field one day, and I had missed 2 tryout days, and he took me under his arm and says, you know, I think you can play this game. Remember Dan Stagner at Arnold Middle School was playing one-on-one basketball. I never had played organized basketball, and he says, you know, if you ever make your decision that, you know, you're tired of being a hoodlum, son, and, you know, you're tired of embarrassing my basketball team, I wish you'd come out. And I did. But people like that. Coach B.R. Johnson is here tonight, my high school baseball coach. Was a great influence in my career. Showed a lot of confidence in me as a football player and as a baseball player, but more important as a person. I went through a little family problem there at one time, and he took me and created a job for me there at Chattahoochee Valley. But he cared for me as a person. His wife Helen was like a big sister to me, and really got me jump started back in my career as far as coaching was concerned. Charles Ragsdale, Doug Key, I see Herbert Green out there, those kind of people. And I really don't feel clean coming in ahead of those guys, and I'm not going to really get on that, but those guys, you know, started programs and were pioneering programs and really got me started and shaping my philosophy, giving me a structure for how to behave on the field, off the field, and were great role models for me. I got some assistant coaches out there. Coach Ed Oliver, one of my best friends still today, one of the great coaches. You know, a lot of those state championships up there, we shared together. He was an outstanding person, and really David Smart, Mike Getkin, and Jeff Boatner today, Terry Gaines, and Ryan Dean, all were great and instrumental in my career. making me overcome the shortcomings that I had professionally and really completing me. And I really thank you guys for being here tonight. The administrators, it goes back to Ralph too, at Kendrick. Virgil Huey hired me from Kendrick over to Columbus. Dr. Ronnie Sheehan, and now Ms. Bryant is here. I owe a lot to them to really giving me resources and all different types of encouragement and just a lot of loyalty and being able to defend my program and just giving us support. I'll say this, Debbie, I never was teacher of the year, by the way, but Ms. Bryant probably would attest to that. But more than anything else is that there were so many people that have helped me along the way, and I just some booster parents that have raised all kind of money. You've seen our facility. We've got a great facility there at Columbus High, and our parents built it all. Our parents take care of about 95% of it. But going back to our booster parents, from George Abbott to Mike Johnson, Tommy Davis, Rusty Simmons, Elizabeth Shaning, Doug Duncan, and now Reggie Kelly's, taking it to another level, and he's here tonight. But the whole point is that, our coaches, we try to stretch ourselves professionally, and just being able to send us to different conventions, seminars, coaching clinics throughout the nation, and all those people have been so instrumental, and for all their support, I do appreciate it. It's been said that true success is when the people that love and respect you, or the people that love and are closest to you, respect you the most, is when you really have actual true success. I look at this table right here, and this is my most important team right here in front of me right here. It's kind of like Gene Hackman in Hoosier says, my team's on the floor. There's my team right there at that table. With my wife, 2 kids, my mom. I just don't know what to say, except, but, it's not easy being a coach's wife, and Debbie's kind of already attested to that, but the support and, the peaks and valleys emotionally that coaches have after wins and losses, and being able to give us support when we do come home and things like that, I really do appreciate it. My mom is here. Mom, I love you. Thank you for all the many different sacrifices over the years that you've made, all the home cooked meals that I don't get anymore, but they're outstanding. They're outstanding when I do get them from you, but I'll always love you. I do support. I do really appreciate the support that you've done for me. Vicki, more than anything else, it's right at 25 years. Thank you for letting me be myself. And Steve Stinson, that's a song. We met Steve Stinson's back there, and he comes over and sits by third base, and we'll discuss things. A lot of times, some of my assistant coaches come over there. What are y'all talking about? In the heat of the game, we'll be firing music trivia back and forth to each other. So there's your one right there, Steve. But thank you for the 2 most precious gifts, and that's Lindsey Ray and Will. And I want to thank both of y'all for not only what you've done, but more important, Will, you and Lindsey Ray, is who you are. And, it's just a great blessing, from the Lord for all of y'all. They told me to tell a story. I'll tell you a story. In 1984, we were playing at Heritage High School for our first state championship. Kids needed some sun glare that morning, so I had to go to the store, the sporting goods store, and get some. It just so happens, though, that, wherever I go, I keep chapstick with me. I'll probably die with a tube in my pocket. But anyway, they didn't have the real big kind or the round kind, so they had something kind of in a tube like chapstick. So anyway, there was 2,000 or 3,000 people there at Heritage, and last year, 2004, was a 1984 20-year reunion. So every time we get together, it has to come up. But anyway, what happened was I come up to the conference before the game, and the umpire says, give me your lineup card, and I give him the lineup card, and there's a lot of people there. It's the first championship game that Columbus High had been in a real long time. So I reached down in my pocket, and I wipe across my mouth like this, and everybody, I didn't say that, and I looked up the umpire, and they all started laughing, and I didn't know what was going on. And then I turned around and looked at the kids like maybe somebody was doing something behind me, and they all started laughing. So, and he looked at me and he says, Bobby, he says, I don't know if you want to do this, but you going to take the black stuff off your lips before the game starts? And I said, yeah, I think I might. So anyway, our state championship picture, it's all on my sleeve here, you know, in that 1984. We had a pretty good cleanup hitter by the name of Frank Thomas on that, and I've seen him a couple of times, and he always asks me about that. But I think I'm very fortunate in that athletic culture that I work in and compete in, make a living in, has this type of organization that recognizes certain individual accomplishments. But like I said, I've just been very fortunate, and I didn't do it by myself. You know, I've had a lot of help, a lot of educators, and a lot of different parents, and great players, and our program, just like any successful program like David's and anywhere else, that, you know, you got to have a commitment from everybody, and it starts at the top of the administration. But our parents are really committed. But, you know, I feel fortunate to be in a Hall of Fame, you know, when there could be a Hall of Fame for teachers, for doctors, lawyers, politicians, you know, ministers, all those. There's so many different professions that impact so many lives, and more positive probably than I do. But I do feel fortunate in that respect. And I'm very appreciative of this Hall of Fame. I accept this honor with great gratitude and humility. But as I told my club, you know, I'm not retired right now. I've got a son as a freshman, you know, and I hope I'm a better person, a better coach tomorrow, tonight, maybe Monday when we meet in practice, than I am today. I think the key buzzword, and I was reading just the other day, I'm a big reader, and people like Stan Bailey, my 8th grade English teacher at Arnold, told me that too. He caught me reading the Lewis Lamore book one day, and I said, I got them all. I said, I got them all. You know, I've still got them all. But the main thing is, he said, if you read, why don't you start reading something that pertains to our class? And I says, okay. I tried that, but he took me under his wing and channeled my direction there, and in doing so. But the word is authentic, you know, what I'm saying, though, in the business world, they say in the next couple months, you know, just being genuine, being authentic. And I think that I try, you know, with all my frailties, to be an authentic person. And I know that there's nothing that's more rewarding, or a great experience has never reoccurred or never happened without involving other people. And I appreciate this opportunity tonight. I hope that my family and everybody that I have hopefully, you know, influenced and impacted, that has benefited from being under me. And there's so many people that like iron, in the Bible it says iron sharpens iron. You know, the competitors, the baseball situation in Columbus, there's so many outstanding coaches out there, and the programs here are so good. But I do want to thank you again for this opportunity, and like I said, I'm not retiring. I hope I'll be better next week than I am today. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Bobby Howard, and congratulations to you again and to the family. Our next inductee won 2 Minnesota High School State Wrestling Championships and received a scholarship to the University of Iowa. Was twice All-American wrestler at the University of Iowa in 1955 and 56. Won the Big Ten and NCAA championships in 1956. Selected to organize, activate, and train the 1st Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment, considered the father of modern-day Rangers. Was commanding general of Fort Benning and chief of infantry. Retired in local area with service as a proud citizen of the community. Was CEO of Goodwill Industries and membership in several community and civic organizations. Please direct your attention to the screen.
Ken Leuer hails from Wayzata, Minnesota. His distinguished career in the U.S. Army earned him numerous medals of honor, but prior to the military, Ken already knew how to fight. He learned it as a young boy on a wrestling mat. Ken says he started wrestling in the 6th grade. His brother and cousins wrestled, and he followed suit. By the time he got to Wayzata High School, he could handle himself pretty well, and that's where he started making a name for himself. Ken captured back-to-back state championships in his weight class in 1951 and 52. That was his junior and senior years. He was also the team captain, leading his squad to a pair of state titles. But wrestling wasn't the only sport Leuer mastered in high school. He also earned all-state football honors. But it was wrestling that would take him to the next level. Ken earned a scholarship to the University of Iowa, a school with a stellar reputation for turning out NCAA champions, and Leuer fit right into the mold. He finished third in his weight class in the Big Ten Conference in 1954. He was second in the conference and the NCAA runner-up his junior year. And then in 1956, Leuer ran the board, going undefeated, capturing not only the Big Ten title, but the NCAA championship in the 191-pound class as well. Ken was team captain for the Hawkeyes his last 2 years, and he was a two-time college All-American. Ken graduated with a degree in business administration and a commission as a second lieutenant in the Army. Leuer spent the next 32 years in the service of his country. His military career would lead him to Fort Benning, where he was commanding general and chief of infantry. He is also fondly referred to as the father of the modern-day Rangers. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame is also proud to induct Ken Leuer.
Class of 2005 Hall of Famer Ken Leuer. Congratulations, sir. Take a look at the camera down there.
Hooah! Chairman Jim, members of the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame Committee, members of the Hall of Fame, and fellow inductees, friends, family. Tonight is a defining event for me. And as Dr. Phil McGraw, in his book, Self Matters, spends a chapter addressing the subject of defining events or defining activity for a person. And the bottom line kind of is that a defining event leaves such an impact on a person that they never lose the vision of that event or that activity. It's something that can change your life and move you on, but you never forget it. Tonight is that kind of an event. I would like to take a few moments and address some other defining events in my life that either put me here or could have prevented me from being here. And in line with your guidance, Jim, I hope some of this will provide a little bit of humor so I get credit for having something funny in the presentation. But in 1974, I was here at Fort Benning, Georgia, having just finished the Industrial College. And many of you knew General Tom Tarpley when he was the commanding general here. Well, he called me to his office, and I had been in his division in Vietnam, which I'll go back to here in a few moments. And he called me to his office, and he said, they're going to start a Ranger Battalion, and General Abrams, Chief of Staff of the Army, has selected you, personally he has selected you, to be the commander of that battalion. So that went on, and a couple of days later I did get the guidance from it, how to do it, from General Depew. But now we're going to go back to 1971 and 72. I arrived in Vietnam in March of 71 to become a commander, or the battalion commander division, Air Mobile. And shortly after I took command, we were moved to a fire base. And for those who are uninitiated, fire bases were plots of land spotted throughout the jungle, normally high ground, reinforced very heavily, normally contained an artillery battery, and you mined the outside of the perimeter and everything so they couldn't be overrun. But I was assigned, my battalion, to occupy Fire Base Tomahawk, and then we had an area of operation about 10 kilometers around it. And then I was given two histories to read. One had been Fire Base Marianne, that earlier that year had been overrun south in the Americal Division area. And the history of that read kind of like all the things you should do but failed to do. And in that particular battle, the division commander got relieved, and the brigade commander got relieved, and the battalion commander was KIA along with about 30 or 40 of his troops. I was assigned to occupy and operate Fire Base Tomahawk. And the history on Fire Base Tomahawk had been that it had been overrun the previous 2 years in April, which was just coming up. And so I did. I occupied it. I was not there but a week. And the Corps commander, General Dolvin, along with the division commander, arrived. And, you know, we did things, and I had a lot of things going on, cleaning up the fire base, and, you know, I can use a lot of terminology, but just getting it ship shape and ready to fight. The next week, I get a call, and normally you get these calls when they're about 5 minutes out in a helicopter, and it was Comus MacV, General Abrams, along with General Tarpley. So they came, and I had troops working, and for some of you, you understand this, they were putting in tanglefoot. Tanglefoot is wire that you stretched across the ground about 4 to 6 inches, real tight, so they can't run through it and they can't crawl under it. And you put mines in with it and all the rest. It's pretty nasty stuff. But we were spinning it up, meaning making it tight, when Abe looked at it. Well, this goes on about another week, and General Dolvin comes back with General Tarpley. Now, I'm not a, you know, I'm not going to break any academic records, but I'm not all that dumb either. And I kind of figured there are 85 infantry battalions in Vietnam, and I'm getting to see 3- and 4-star generals on a weekly basis. That just doesn't work out. The math doesn't work. So, you know, what's going on? Well, when Dolvin came back the third week, now I had seen him 3 weeks, and he was with Tarpley, and they got off the chopper, and I reported, and I said, golly, you guys been here, what do you want to see? And Dolvin looked at me and he said, Colonel, just take me to where Abe went. So we started walking around, and he said, reached down, he popped some of the tanglefoot. He looked at General Tarpley and he says, Tom, looks tight to me. They were there all of 5 minutes and they flew away. Nothing else said. And I thought, man, what is that all about? Well, it went on and on and on, and we didn't get attacked. And almost a year later, we're getting ready to close out the 101st and close out the upper 2 provinces where the 101st operated. And my battalion was selected to close everything out and be the last out of Wei Fu Bai, go down to Cameron and fly home. General Tarpley went off to have a final dinner with Dolvin before he was going to leave, because we were shrinking everything down, and Colonel Leuer was going to be the last one on the plane. So Tarpley came back, and I got called to his quarters, and he came, you know, come in, and he popped a Coke and said, let's, you know, sit down and relax. And I did. He said, you remember back when we had General Dolvin, and then we had General Abrams, and then General Dolvin? And I said, yeah, I remember all that. I said, it's always bothering me. What was that all about? He said, well, General Dolvin told me today what it was all about. We had lunch. I said, what was it? And he said, well, Abe felt when he went back to Saigon that he, you know, he had been on that fire base, and there were a couple of things that weren't right. And I knew they weren't right. But he was the last in that fire base, and he's the senior officer. He's the senior person in charge. So when he got back to Saigon, he called Dolvin and said to Dolvin, give Leuer a week, and if the tanglefoot isn't tight, relieve him. Now, that's, I think, what Phil McGraw had in mind when he was talking about a defining moment. It sure was a defining moment for me as I look back on it, because had I been relieved, there wouldn't have been any Ranger Battalion, there wouldn't have been any Fort Benning, there wouldn't have been any more career. And I sure wouldn't be standing here tonight, because I'm here tonight because of a lot of people, a great family, and when you saw me walk in with the Sergeant Major, that's the pride of my life, to be with a strong non-commissioned officer. He represents the Army. He represents the soldiers. He represents everyone. And so I was very proud, thank you, Sergeant Major, to walk in with them. In closing, I'd like to recall a moment in history when President Kennedy went to Berlin. And he was the first president to be in Berlin for a number of years. And he made the comment, Ich ein Berliner, I am a Berliner. And people clapped and they were ecstatic over it. In closing tonight, Ich ein Columbusite. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken Leuer, and congratulations from the Hall of Fame. Our next inductee won the first region title in the school's history at Barber County Training School. Reached the championship game of the William Henry Shaw Tournament 14 consecutive years from 1974 through 1988 while at Central High School. Won the tournament 9 times, losing twice by a single point. Named Coach of the Year 11 times, receiving the honor 4 times from the Ledger Enquirer, once from the Montgomery Advertiser and Birmingham News, and 3 times from the Columbus Exchange Club, and twice by the Alabama Sports Writers Association. Won 33 consecutive games before losing in the state semifinals in 1980-81 while at Central High School. Coached the 5A and 6A South All-Star team in 1981. While at Central High School, more than 40 players signed college scholarships to play basketball. Attained a record of 312 wins and 97 losses while coaching at Central High School. Please direct your attention to the screen.
James Redd is accustomed to being at the head of the class. He was the valedictorian of his 1961 graduating class at South Girard High School in Phoenix City. 4 years later, he received his Bachelor of Science degree from Alabama State University. He earned his master's from Fisk University. Redd's coaching career started at Barber County Training School. There he coached basketball from 1965 to 69. His teams went 62-34 and captured the school's first ever region championship. In 1974, Coach Redd became head basketball coach at Central High School in Phoenix City, where he would coach until he retired in 1989. His Red Devils amassed 312 victories to just 97 losses. That's an average of almost 21 wins a season. Coach Redd's Red Devils owned the William Henry Shaw basketball tournament, making it to the championship finals 14 years in a row. They took home the championship trophy 9 times during that stretch. Coach Redd's 1980-81 squad had a magical season. They ran off a string of 33 consecutive victories, their only loss coming in the state semifinals. Redd wound up taking 4 teams to the state tournament. The accomplishments of his teams on the hardwood resulted in numerous honors for Coach Redd. 11 times he was named the Coach of the Year. 2 of those came from the Alabama Sports Writers Association. To his credit, Coach Redd has had over 40 of his players go on to play ball at the college level. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame is proud to induct James Redd.
Please rise for a class of 2005 Hall of Famer, James Redd. Take a look at the camera there, James.
First, I'd like to thank the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame Committee for honoring me with such a prestigious award. I'm grateful and humble. Next, I'd like to thank my wife, Marie, who was there with me every step of the way during my coaching career. She served as my sounding board, my personal chauffeur, and she raised my kids. I'd like to thank my children, Kevin and Crystal. For years, Kevin served as my manager and statistician. My daughter, Crystal, was our #1 fan. When we won, she was overjoyed. When we lost, she cried. I'd also like to thank the numerous fans that followed our teams over the years. Whether we were in Phoenix City, Montgomery, Columbus, Opelika, Auburn, or Macon, we always had a loyal fan base that shared in our losses and our successes. Obviously, when a coach receives such a distinguished award, he or she realizes that their success is predicated on the players they coached. And I was quite fortunate to have some outstanding players. As many of you know, when our teams broke the huddle, we broke the huddle by spelling the word hustle. H-U-S-T-L-E, hustle, hustle, hustle. I expected our players to play hard. That is the way we played, and that is the way I coach. Hopefully my players were able to take some of what I provided them to go on to live productive lives for their families and their respective communities. I didn't achieve success alone. I owe thanks to a lot of people. First, I'd like to thank Coach Bobby Wright, who was my assistant for 12 years. I'd like to thank Coach Howard Walker, who coached my B team for several years. Coach Walker was a character. I walked in the gym one day, and he practiced before I did, and I didn't see any balls bouncing, and I just saw a lot of players standing around. I saw a wrestling mat on the floor, and I wondered what was going on. And there was 2 of the players wrestling on the mat rather than practicing basketball. And I asked him, I said, so what's happening? He said, Coach, I just wanted to see Victor get his butt kicked. That's all. I want to thank my athletic director, Coach Wayne Travick. We had numerous talks at coaching clinics and at school about coaching philosophies. Of course, he would teach me some football in the room at coaching clinics, and I would teach him some basketball. I would like to thank Coach Ron Nelson, Coach Gary Sohar, Coach Charles Fortune. These are the guys who coached most of the players at the junior high school level in our program. We had a very good field program. All these guys are at the varsity level now. I would like to thank all my administrators. My first principal at Central, our coach was Mr. Otis Kirkland. I got a great deal of support from him. Mr. B.L. Hayes, who's here tonight, a principal. The late Jack Russell was also very helpful. And of course, and other administrators, Dr. Cordelia Moffitt served as assistant superintendent, and I was my assistant principal. I'd like to thank Coach Doug Key, who signed so many of my players to scholarships while coaching at Chattahoochee Valley Community College. I'd like to thank Mark Clark, who did such a good job of covering our teams over the years with coverage in the newspaper, as sport editor of the Southern newspaper in Phoenix City. And I can't forget about my counselors who did so much work for the athletes in preparing them for college. Mrs. Mary Jane Riley, Mrs. Bill Bell. I'm thankful tonight to have present my sister, who's visiting from Chicago, Geraldine Red. I'm thankful tonight to have my cousin, his friends visiting tonight from Pittsburgh. I'd like to thank my pastor for being here tonight, Reverend and Mrs. Carter. He's also Coach Richard Carter. We competed against each other several times when he was head basketball coach at Valley High School. And I can't forget my former players. I couldn't have done it without you guys. Several of you are here tonight. And finally, I'd just like to thank all my supporters over the years for the effort, the support that you gave me. Thank you.
Thank you, James Redd, and congratulations for your contributions to the community. Ladies and gentlemen, in closing, there is at least one graphic measure by which we determine outstanding citizens in the Chattahoochee Valley, great men, great women. And that's the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame. While it is physically located at the Columbus Civic Center, I think more importantly, it's located in our hearts. Within it are 45 individuals. Tonight, we inducted 5 more. We received them in large part because they dreamed and were visionaries of perfection. They dreamed nobly and they acted. Taken all together, they have made a considerable contribution to the communities of Phoenix City, Fort Benning, Columbus, and the nation. If you will, ladies and gentlemen, please rise and give one final round of applause to the class of 2005. That concludes our evening. Good night, everyone. Drive home safely. Thank you.